Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Round Robin. Today we will be discussing the episode from Season 1, Episode 3, Elias Albuelazam, the Serial Stabber. Hey Christine.
Hey Trace, we ready for today?
We are so ready. Hey Nina.
Hi y'all.
Hey Regina.
Hey Tracy.
Hey Todd.
Hello.
All right, so as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about Elias Albuelazam, the serial stabber in Flint, Michigan, where his crimes were racially motivated against innocent black men trying to help a guy out when he needed some help.
Ugh.
I know. One of the things I did find as I was just kind of looking through some more information tonight was that this guy was married not only once, but twice. And both of these women were absolutely dumbfounded when they heard about his crimes. I also found that his defense attorneys, of course, were trying to go for the insane defense and trying to say, he had someone, an expert, that was saying he was a paranoid schizophrenic and that demons were the ones who were forcing him to stab and kill. But the prosecution had interviewed him and found he wasn't mentally ill or incapable of understanding his acts.
Well, they said Ted Bundy had a girlfriend, and he was always kind and nice to her, and he was a mother's boy. He doted on his mother, did whatever she wanted, but didn't keep him from killing, 13, 15, 20 women?
Oh, and she ate well,
And they
too.
have a whole series, Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Where these women have no idea that their husbands are serial rapists until they find their trinket box out in the shed with, some freaking underwear and, charm blade bracelets and shit, I mean, I think it happens more times than not. Do we really know? Really know? I don't know. No. I mean, how do you not know? But I don't know.
I'm stuck on the trinket box.
The trinket box is good.
That's where they keep all their souvenirs and shit.
Yeah. I mean, how often, honestly, do you see, the television news crew interviewing somebody when they find, bodies in their neighbor's crawl space who's like, I knew they were a fucking psycho the whole time. Everybody always says, oh, I can't believe that. They seem like such a nice person. They kept to themselves. They were quiet. Yeah, because they were burying people in the crawl space.
Yeah, it's the nice ones you got to work out. Those are the people that scare me the most. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
There is something for being sad about being too nice. It's like, what are you hiding?
Well, BTK, you remember him? Bind,
Right.
Torture, Kill, married, children, head of the church.
I thought that was a Korean pop band. Is it not? I'm pretty sure it is.
It could be.
I gotta look it up now.
Todd's gonna Google that.
Which came first, the Boston Strangler or the Korean band? No, is that not the Boston Strangler? Am I getting my serial killers confused? I'm sorry.
It is a band, by the way.
Is it really?
See, I told you.
All right, give us some detail.
Y2K.
Yeah, they're, for them, BTK stands for Birth Through Knowledge.
Oh.
Oh.
And
That's
are-
like PDQ, people demanding quality.
And are they...
What a dumb name for a chicken place.
Look at you, Nina. What are you listening to?
I don't. That's the thing. I don't know why I know these things. It's just super random.
Well, I'm liking your randomness.
Although, according to this, it says their origin was in Toronto, Canada.
Really?
That's pretty close to Michigan.
Be from Canada and still be Korean.
Agreed. That's what I said. They appear to be Korean. It just says the band's origin is Toronto, Canada.
It's Canadian.
I did read a quote about, each time he was married twice, both for just a couple years. And the one girl who's actually from Texas, Regina, said that he was just the sweetest man you'd ever know. So isn't that crazy?
Boy, it's got to be about Texas now.
Well, kinda.
Yeah.
For a minute.
So she said he was the sweetest man.
He was
Interesting.
the sweetest man you could ever know. She was completely shocked about it when she heard what was going on. And it sounds like he bounced around quite a bit, like he was in Texas. So I think he has a family there. He also had some family in Leesburg. So it was like this guy was just hopping all over the place, never really holding down a job. Like he worked at the market in Beecher, where they had the famous gin logo t-shirt. And also one of the things that, Christine, you had asked me, when he was going through his trial, like he didn't say anything, and he really didn't. He really kept quiet, but he did get in a little bit of a fisticuff with some of the officers there. So if you look at some of the photos of him, like at one moment he's fine, and then the next moment like he's all completely beat up. That's because he took a swing at one of the officers, and then they commenced beating his ass. But he stayed very quiet.
Addiction medicine. That's what the defense expert
Yes.
had his area of expertise was.
Yes, thank you.
So basically, somebody who counseled drug addicts was the defense expert that tried to say that he was insane.
Thank you very much. Also, Arnold Miner, his poor mother during the trial, she was in the courtroom with her son's urn, and she actually passed out. Like, she couldn't handle being in there with him. And I can only imagine how horrible that was for her.
He was a big, scary dude.
I kind of consider myself to be kind of big and scary to some. People that know me know better, but this dude actually he's intimidating. He's got a scary look about him and that hateful look in his eye,
Oh, I was just going to say, and the fact that he was constantly getting into fights in prison to the point that he had to be separated other inmates. I mean, he was just constantly fighting.
Yeah, and also in Murderpedia, his friends and family, quote, "I just can't see him doing this."
He obviously had a little Jekyll and Hyde up in him. So maybe he was schizophrenic. And he just had fits where he flipped out and became violent.
Like he could have just, kept it under wraps. Like kind of like we talked about before, Christine, in the episode where you utilize this personality to get through your day. Nobody else sees that. But the underlying tone is that he's just craving to hurt people. Because I never did see anything that he had a hard childhood or that he was, molested or beat up or whatever. It just seems like he just had a hatred. Now, I wish I could find out.
Well, he clearly had a target, though. So his romantic relationships, they didn't fit that description. So they would have never saw that side of him.
Right, and I'd like to know why both of his marriages were only for a couple of years, so clearly there was an issue. But neither one of these women would say anything in the negative light about this guy. It's just that their marriages were only a couple years.
Well, that doesn't really make any sense. How are you the most sweetest, kindest man, but you're Max's husband now?
Right.
Well, and according to Wikipedia documentation, it said that his first wife, Jessica, that he reportedly subjected her to emotional abuse. So, and then another interesting tidbit I just came across, it said that he worked at an adolescent psychiatric facility.
That's frightening.
As a tech.
Wow.
Now, that whole thing may be going along with that attempted insanity defense. You never know. Just maybe an attempt to manipulate. Or for our previous discussion about the mental stability of some people that work with psych patients,
That was our last one,
saying.
Robin. Yeah.
Well, takes one to know one. It is a true statement in some circumstances. The thing that's curious with him is that some people are like, oh, he was super nice, and like even the job in the original episode, and we talked about like how his coworkers that basically kind of said where he was, or I don't remember exactly what they said, but remember they were like, oh, well, he was a really nice guy, kept to himself, never had a problem with him.
Right. Yeah.
So, and like Todd said, he obviously had a target. He had a type. So everyone that he attacked fit that same bill, right?
Yeah.
They were smaller, skinnier black men.
Yeah, and Antoine Wilson, remember, he's the guy who was walking along the sidewalk. Elias Albuelazam was on the phone saying, hey, man, you got me lost. Hey, can you help me find such and such place, right? And he walked up, and he was the one who got stabbed and slashed and made it to that woman's home where she called the paramedics for him. I mean, he's talking about in this article in Wikipedia, like he's so traumatized when it's nighttime or walking down the sidewalk at nighttime. He's completely, like, this will be with him for the rest of his life. Like, he's completely messed this man up for the rest of his life. I couldn't even imagine what that would be like for someone.
Yeah, no doubt. I can't imagine if that ever happened to me that I would ever go outside at dark anymore. Forget
Right.
about walk down the street by myself.
Right. I need a companion at all times.
Yeah, or a really big dog.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually broken in on when I was a teenager, and I met the burglar in the living room.
Say what?
And even, yeah, so I was getting ready for school, and I heard a window break. And on my way out of the house, encountered the burglar in the living room. And so what I can tell you from that experience, though, is like nothing nearly as horrible as being stabbed nearly to death happened to me. But I still have trauma from that, and that was 35 years ago. So it doesn't go away. You know, I've gotten to the point now where I can kind of sleep alone in the house at night, but it's a struggle. It's kind of always in the back of your head. So and that's just, you know, seeing somebody, let alone being attacked. I can't even imagine.
Wow, Regina, thank you for sharing that. That's very, I can see why it would be with you forever. I mean, it seems like it would always be there, right?
Yeah, that whole breaking and entering. I mean, I've been robbed a few times. I never busted anybody because if I did, I wouldn't tell you about it anyway, because they would definitely be buried somewhere. But I've been burglarized and robbed before. I had a business in New York that got broken into once. I had a townhouse up in Philly that got broken into once. And my house in New York got broken into once. But like I said, I didn't come face to face with them. But man, was I pissed at first. But then after the anger goes away, it's haunting. It stays with you and it's haunting because you feel like you've been violated. So I get what you're saying about that. And I don't think it's as much as just seeing them as the fact that you were caught off guard. And in that moment in your life, that moment will stick with you forever, that being caught off guard is always a potential.
Well, you think in your own home, of all places, that's where you're safe. And then somebody broke that.
Right.
And now you don't
Well,
feel safe.
That safety really is an illusion.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So I get that violated feeling, you know, like your trust was broken, your sanctity was trampled on. Like, I get that, even though I haven't been through the same circumstance, but I get that feeling from it, that understanding, definitely. So yeah, for this guy, and I think we take that into everything when we hear about any victimology, you know, anybody that had been perpetrated on. Namely, we're talking about this young man that can't walk down the street at night no more. I mean, that's traumatic times 10. So when we're hearing about it or thinking about it, you can't help but feel bad for the whole situation, because you could only just imagine what he really feels. Like, we're never going to fully understand the magnitude of his fear or his feeling of unsafeness. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how to verbalize that. But we can relate somewhat, which makes it horrifying.
Yeah, and our experience are just not even a drop in the bucket of what this guy went through. I mean, Regina's got the most traumatic out of all of it. And Christine, I completely understand what you're talking about being violated. When I was my early 20s, you know, I looked out my window and saw someone breaking into my car. And my adrenaline was rushing. I'm shaking, calling the police, and I wasn't even touched. I wasn't even close to that person. But them just breaking into the car made me feel extremely violated. Like, who are you? You're a complete stranger in my stuff. Right? And the other thing, too, is, like, I think about this a lot, is, like, it's so funny, this false sense of security that we have in our houses. Like, I just had this vision when Regina was talking about, you know, this person breaking into her house, that it's like, yeah, we have windows and doors and we have locks on and all that stuff. But to be quite honest, if anybody wants to get in, there's plenty of ways for someone to get into our home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plenty of ways. If they really want to get in, someone's going to get in. It's like being in a teepee. Just walk out.
Yeah.
Just walk in,
I know. And nowadays we all have alarm systems and cameras all over the place.
which helps.
And it doesn't really make a difference because somebody that's going to do things like that ultimately doesn't care about cameras and all of that because they're in a desperate state as it is. They're not thinking about tomorrow when they get caught.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at least we can prove, like, hey, this is what the person looked like. I got it on camera. But
Yeah.
P.S. cut two, someone was killed or this or that or violated in some way. Here's the thing. I don't think we have much to say about this guy. He's just so bad.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to, I think I've said this on a few other episodes already. Sometimes evil is just evil. I mean, I'm one of those frou-frou people that I think everything's kind of on a spectrum, right? So if I want to believe that there's, saintly goodness in this world, which I have to believe because there's just something in me that has to believe that there's always good out there because we hear about so much of the bad, especially doing this podcast now with you. And we're only really talking about bad. So there's got to be that spectrum. And unfortunately, like I was saying, if I got to believe in the good, then I got to believe in the bad too. And sometimes evil is just evil is just evil.
Yeah, and this guy's definitely...
He has an evil streak.
We can't even solve his problems like we did on the last round robin with Christopher. We were solving shit left and right.
Yeah, I don't think there's a solve for this.
Well, I think we fixed mental health and education, adolescent angst. Yeah, we got all of it last time, so...
Yeah, like there's just nothing in the barrel for this guy.
This guy is just straight up an embodiment of hate.
And evil.
Yep.
And he's where he should be. And here's one thing that's, I think, important to just say is that in the state of Michigan, for anyone who's committed first-degree murder, there is no parole. That's never even on the table. Because this dude it was premeditated. He knew he didn't have a specific person in mind, like, oh, I've been, stalking this person, I'm going after this person, but the plan was there. I'm going out, I've got my knife, I'm going to set up a ruse. Wait, is it rue or ruse?
Ruse.
Ruse. I'm going to set up this ruse. Oopsie, I have a problem with my car. Or, hey, I'm lost. Can you help me? That's premeditation.
That even makes it worse, because he's out there pretending like he needs help, and then he finds his victim.
Right, and I think that's the part that made me so well, there's many parts that made me so upset, but all these men were trying to do was help this guy. That's all they were trying to do. And he knew it.
Like the definition of a psychopath. I mean, that's exactly what Ted Bundy did. He wore a fake cast on his arm, and then he pretended like he needed help with his car, and he would lure women into it, and then take them somewhere else and rape them and kill them. Mm-hmm. So we're just dealing with a psychopath. The interesting thing is that I'm not sure exactly when I remember seeing this. I just remember watching a documentary at some point in my life where there was a doctor who was doing brain scans to see if, in fact, people who commit serial murder have a mental disease, and they had pretty much come to the conclusion that the frontal lobe, some portion of it, I can't remember, its medical name or whatever, but there was less activity there of all the people that were convicted murderers versus, regular people who had just committed, random regular crimes that didn't involve murder. So I do agree that there's a spectrum of this evil and this good, but I also feel on some level as living organisms, we can deteriorate to the point where the things that are supposed to work don't work the way they're supposed to work anymore. I guess, does that make sense? I'm not saying he's not at fault and that he shouldn't be punished, because obviously there still needs to be consequences to action. But this particular study did lend more of the theory that, in fact, psychopaths cannot help what they do.
Right, but also doesn't mean they can be rehabilitated.
Can't be rehabilitated. There isn't anything because of the way that their brain works and functions. That would be like asking somebody who was dyslexic to, read our tax code and understand it, when our tax code has like a reading level of grade 23 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's asking them to do something that is beyond their actual physical capabilities. I don't know whatever happened to that study, and I don't know if,
I get it, but that's a little bit too much like pedophiles are just pedophiles because they're pedophiles. Don't worry about it. That's just that.
Well, she wasn't saying that we can't worry about it. It was just looking at the perspective of, I guess if you scan these people's brains, then we eliminate the whole process of wondering if we can ever reintegrating or spending the time to try to rehabilitate these people. We just know we have to lock them up and be done with it.
So,
like during the point of no return, there's not any help for this person. They will do it again.
So I'm just wondering, so under MRI, they're saying that the frontal lobe isn't lighting up, like it's not
I think
triggering?
it's the amygdala, actually.
Okay.
Has something to do with that rational thinking kind of part of your brain where you have thoughts and feelings and empathy and things like that. And those areas did not light up the same way as on a regular person.
I'm curious. I wonder, did they say anything about these particular types of people where, like with their research, did they find that they were, let's just say, never experienced a loving family, or were they held, like, did they talk about anything like that? You know what I mean?
No, I mean, they may have been more in depth. It's been, I want to say it's been at least 13 or 14 years since I've seen this particular, program.
Mm-hmm.
But it just is more along the lines of trying to answer that question. Is someone really
Rehabilitated?
or, well, they were also using it in the sense of the mental, do they really know what they were doing? Are they even really capable of being held culpable for their actions on some level? So I think you can use that information in either way. It just depends on what side of the argument you're on.
I think that, but just because they don't have the ability necessarily to control the impulse doesn't mean that they don't understand that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, then you start getting into some really sticky territory about, okay, what constitutes, legal insanity.
Right.
But I think I may have seen this same documentary. I don't remember whether or not they discussed the whole nature nurture aspect of it. But I mean, if you think about it, again, we're all nurses mostly here, that it's, synapses are formed based on experiences in infancy and, as a toddler. So if there is someone who is horribly abused, or if there is someone who is isolated, it doesn't have that safe, nurturing parent-child relationship, whatever it is that helps you to feel secure is not going to develop that part of their brain that gives them empathy.
Right.
It's not that they don't know it's wrong, they just don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Well, and how much do we really know and understand, too, the impact of concussion? I mean, we know a lot more now where we've seen grown men who have been in sports where they've been hit repeatedly in the head. They were completely normal, fine individuals growing up, happy, wouldn't hurt a fly, and then turn around and murder their family. So maybe it isn't every kid that's a psychopath grows up with hideous parents. Perhaps they played a lot of sports. Perhaps they fell off their bike wrong one time. And we know maybe more about that stuff now, and we can combat that. But this guy obviously...
I can actually speak to that because I know somebody that has had several concussions, and they are not the same person anymore.
Did they become violent?
No, they just became an asshole.
Well,
they're not the person they used to be. Yeah.
I worked in a neurotrauma ICU, and I also worked in a pediatric facility that specialized in brain and spinal cord injuries when I was in nursing school. And, honestly, a lot of people that have head injuries, they're never the same. And I've always found it it always made me feel a little bit sad, because it seems like the part of you that makes you who you are, your personality, is just sort of stunted, or in some cases just completely gone. The affect becomes very flat. The sense of humor, the quick wit, whatever it was that you had that just made people notice who you were as a person is just gone. It's really kind of, it's amazing the things that people can recover from, but it's also sort of interesting and confusing to see, like, where does that go?
That's a great theory, because we talked about this guy. This guy obviously was a scrapper, liked to fight, didn't have a problem getting in fights with cops, Maybe he took one too many punches to the head and it really affected him.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it's a traumatic brain injury for this guy.
Yeah.
Right,
I don't know.
right.
Like the
That's
thing,
a valid point.
maybe my one optimistic thought that I always have. I just don't want to believe that people are inherently evil. I want to believe that it's the breakdown of our chemical makeup. I want to believe that it's a malfunction in our system. I want to believe that we all come down here, whichever way you specifically believe that we transfer our spirit into this physical form, whether that be spirituality or religion. I just can't and don't understand the purpose of why anything would need to be evil from the start. I just want to believe that everybody is inherently good, and that because we're not good stewards of our personal health, our machine doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. And maybe we're past the warranty. I don't know. You can't get it fixed, but I think that's my one optimistic thought. I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt until they give me a reason not to, and then I'll never speak to you again, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, then we're done. Deuces. You're crazy.
I have no problem cutting you out, but I don't know if that's like the Southern person in me or whatever. I don't know. I just don't want to believe evil like that exists.
No, I'm from New York, and I can tell you 110% there's evil in this MFing world.
For real.
I can tell you there is evil, but I can also thankfully, very thankfully, tell you that there are saints in this world as well. Do you know what I mean? However, like you said, however you believe, good and evil, there is definitely the best kind of good in this world. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. You want to call them miracles, whatever, check. But there is definitely evil in this world, and evil comes knocking every day in every way for every person, which is why everyone, all of us, has any negative thoughts about ourselves, is because there is always evil lurking. And I think everybody has the capacity for it. Just like you said, in the right circumstances, anybody can murder anybody in the right circumstances. The thing is anyone can also be a saint to anyone in those right circumstances as well. So sometimes, and maybe it was a head injury, threw him over the edge, made him real grumpy about some things, and when it came to those certain things, he was just downright evil.
And I'm feeling like maybe he got into a fight, and that's why it became a racially motivated experience for him, because whoever kicked his ass,
maybe they were a skinny black man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. So he was going to take his revenge on every skinny black man he ever came across after that to make himself feel better.
It is a possible avenue.
Well, it could have, right? Let's think about this too. Like maybe he was a frumpy, chunky little boy. You know what I mean? Like he was
bullied growing up.
He could have been, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe that was what was in him. It's like it's deep down in there like that. That was traumatizing for me. So I'm going to get my revenge because I'm also, right? So I'm also with you, Nina, and you, Christine, right? Because I always say babies aren't born bad. Every baby I've ever seen is just a sweet little baby. But then there was Damien, right? Made up or not.
Is that the old baby?
Yeah.
That was a story.
Was
hello?
it?
There's
Was
gotta be a
it?
reason.
Rosemary's Baby too.
Okay, but listen, there's got to be a reason that they make those really haunting, freaky baby dolls.
Yeah.
Okay?
There's nothing scarier than a
babies
crazy
that
baby.
they mold those baby dolls after were evil babies.
In 1932, that was an evil child. So I'm going to make this dolly.
You're stumped? Is that what you said?
What?
Did you say you're stumped?
No, I said I'm going to make this dolly. Because back in 1932, I had this experience and I was traumatized. So I'm going to make this dolly to traumatize you too. You know what?
It's gonna go for you, apparently.
I am making a
No.
doll.
She just went into character somewhere. What's happening?
Now, I don't know how valid this is. I think Nina was talking
Not the
about it
bite.
because Nina was watching a show maybe 20 years ago where she got some information on serial killers, and it seems about that long, maybe even longer. I saw something. Another thing that I wonder about is they had mentioned that something that was similar between a lot of serial killers was low blood pressure. And it kind of makes me wonder, are they drawn to doing this kind of crime because they need that adrenaline burst
Yeah.
to
That's how they get aroused. Because when you have low blood pressure, you're not getting it up. You're not
I'm
getting
sorry. You're gonna
Blood
1, 2, 3.
pressure.
Yeah, you're gonna 1, 2, 3 that shit.
Okay, wait.
We're pegging.
Yeah.
God damn it,
that's
Nina.
Exactly what happens?
You and your
when you have
pegging.
blood pressure, that's it.
I need
It's
blood
not-
pressure to help this thing out.
No, that's because she's over here wheezing in the microphone like that dog from Bullwinkle. I don't know what his name is. But that's what he
There's no
Wheezy.
dog
Mumbly.
in Bullwinkle. There's like a moose and a squirrel.
Wait a minute. No, there's a dog
It's
that goes,
mumbly.
There's a dog on there
That's
that
not
just laughs.
Bullwinkle.
is that
The evil-
Bullwinkle?
That's
It's an evil
that's
dog. It belongs to the Morticia and the
that's
Addams Family guy. What's his name? Boris.
it's
Boris and
Mugsley or
Svetlana.
Bugsley or
Boris and Svetlana. It was their dog?
Yeah, what's that their name?
Svetlana.
No,
That's a
Boris
Trump.
and
That's
Natasha.
Trump's daughter.
Something different. But
She likes that one.
I like Svetlana. Although I do like
Boris
that.
and Natasha bad enough.
You know what? You are quick on the Google net, Regina.
No,
'Cause
that actually
Regina.
that actually was from memory because aside from having really good Google skills, I also have a head full of trivial bullshit that keeps me from remembering things I need to know.
Yeah.
Like the location of my car keys, my password, my locker combination.
Why do you have a locker?
Because I have to change clothes at my center when I get there.
I forgot.
It's been so long since we had to do that, and we're thankful
know.
for it. And guess what, Regina? That is your future. No more locker.
No more
But they had
locker.
locker for a month. Stop rubbing it in.
What?
Yes, I know. Yeah, like another month. Got to deal with the locker situation.
But it's a month.
Yeah, I know.
You're almost there.
Agreed.
So finally we picked up. We got on our roll again. Oh,
Wait, we got to get back to that, though. We
okay.
got to get off the wheezing dog and back to what Todd said about, what did Todd say?
Low
Todd
blood
said
pressure.
Low,
Low blood
blood
pressure.
pressure.
So what you got on that, Christine? I know you got
Maybe they're
something.
hypoxic. Oh, low blood pressure.
If they are chronically low blood pressure for the psychopaths and serial killers, I'm not sure which that data set fit, but that would totally make sense because they're emotionless when it comes to violent acts like that. So if they're emotionless to violent acts, that would normally raise the blood pressure. And yes, it might give them a euphoria and it might raise their blood pressure a little bit because it's physical for them. So the physicality of it might raise their blood pressure, but they maintain a low blood pressure otherwise before and after the heinous acts that they do because they are naturally non-caring.
Yeah.
So they're not stressed like the rest of us. They're not worried about what that guy's thinking of them.
Yep.
They're not worried about what they're going to ask them next because they don't care.
True.
So that totally tracks, medically speaking,
But how
why
do
they
you
would
not
have low
chill,
blood
but then
pressure.
you're going around stabbing people?
They're mental, but that doesn't mean that their heart's
How are they getting the upper body strength for all that if they got that low blood pressure like that?
Come on, you stop saying low blood pressure, okay? Just
Low blood
check.
pressure.
LBPs. You got low LBPs.
It's hypotension. How about that? How about, can you say hypotension?
Hypotension. I can say low blood pressure. I don't know what you're talking about.
Screw your hypotension word.
Okay, so wait a second. So, but no, serious question. So, I always thought like high blood pressure that means you're like gonna have a heart attack.
No.
Like you're. Okay, but
See what you do.
your eyes are bugging out, and you're like, oh, you're like Rachel, like your high blood pressure, you know. So if you're like low blood pressure, would that be like you're chill, like you got,
Yeah, and that you enjoy.
You're
Murdering me.
mellow.
you enjoy it.
Yeah, you
Or maybe
relax.
it's just that low blood pressure didn't get enough blood to that brain, and your brain's all messed up.
That's
and now
valid.
you don't know.
Head injury again. Save the penumbra.
Save the what?
Penumbra.
Penumbra.
Oh my God, you girls know what I'm talking about, right? Save the penumbra.
Just like the
It's
amygdala.
stroke. I know you
Amygdala.
don't know, my love.
I don't know.
It's stroke protocol. Save the penumbra. When anybody's having a traumatic brain injury, the first thing you worry about is the penumbra.
oh,
You gotta save it.
okay.
It's raining
It's
out.
great.
I better get my penumbra.
It's the gray matter going black.
So, Christine, you're going to have
Yeah.
to break down the penumbra for our listeners.
Okay, well, the penumbra is the anoxic area of the brain due to the traumatic brain injury. So, if you picture black and white, let's do a gray scaled brain, right? So it's colored on a piece of white paper, grayscale, and the injury is allocated by a black dot. Well, that black dot will grow from the size of a dime to a penny, to a nickel, to a quarter, to a $50, to a sun, to a moon. You know what I mean? Like, it'll just keep growing if the injury is not tended to.
Mhm.
So, and it kills off those brain cells and the functionality in that section of the brain.
Which can
So
never
if
be
there-
regained.
What?
Once it's done, it's done.
Yeah, exactly. When the gray matter goes black, it stays black. We've never, well, to my knowledge, we haven't found foolproof ways to reinnervate or reoxygenate that portion of the brain
Wow.
once it has been damaged by any kind of traumatic brain injury. Now, this whole science is talked about real thoroughly when you're studying strokes and when you're dealing with strokes and when you're treating strokes. You know all about saving the penumbra. I have always kept it in my forefront of my mind because I just love the word penumbra.
It's a fun word.
Whenever you talk about brain damage in any way, I always yell out, save the penumbra. 'Cause so basically, by me screaming out, save the penumbra, means stop the bleed, stop the damage, salvage what you can.
Or clear the clot. Stop the bleed or clear the clot.
Right, stop the bleed or clear the clot in strokes, yes.
Yep.
But technically, saving the penumbra could also kind of help us understand the possibility that some of the evilness that we talk about could be related to brain injuries.
Right.
So that's very valid.
It's very
Tyler.
plausible. Yep.
Look how this turned out. We were struggling in the beginning.
All right. Wait a second, though. There's still another mystery. Let's talk about the Hitler mustache that this dude donned several times.
He did don a Hitler mustache.
So I think there's still that.
Are you sure that wasn't a Saddam mustache? Because it looked kind of the same.
A what? What kind?
Like Saddam Hussein mustache. His kind of looked like a Hitler mustache, too.
Yeah. Well, Saddam Hussein did sport the Hitler mustache.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I
they did
just
that on
really only
purpose.
saw him
That's
with
a
the
whole
beard.
manpower thing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
That's a whole supremacy thing. I mean, maybe the supremacy symbology of it came after Hitler, but those little tiny mustaches in the middle, that is, I mean, in some annals somewhere, a symbol of
Vaginal.
You got little mustache.
Annals and vaginals.
You got little mustache energy. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
A little mustache energy. Oh my God. Like, why? I mean, think about that. You are Hitler and you are in the mirror and you say, oh, look, that's me.
oh no, don't do
I look so beautiful.
Nay!
will step it up a notch with the tiny mustache. Yes.
You know what my
Yes,
lip
what happened
needs?
was
It needs a
in
square.
With the tiny mustache, it says,
No, we can't air any of this. I'm sorry.
it says, yes, I am dictator.
My nose needs a napkin.
Oh no, all of this is getting aired. Absolutely.
No, you cannot air that.
I absolutely can.
Just saying, like, seriously, who thought that was a good fashion look to go with? It does not scream, I'm the leader of this awesome, cool thing. It's like, come on. That's what he wanted people to think.
What's weird is I think I read somewhere that Hitler did it because he was trying to copy Charlie Chaplin, and he wanted people to like him because people liked Charlie Chaplin.
Oh.
Oh.
Again, with the weird shit that I know that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Regina.
Well, Charlie
Ka-ching.
Chaplin, I mean, isn't there rumors that he was a little dictator? He acted like he was nice, and all the immediate people around him always like boasted about how nice he was and blah blah blah. But wasn't he really like a prick?
He was a perfectionist.
Regina, is that in the
Yes.
in the recesses of your mind? Charlie
Yeah,
Chaplin?
I don't think that he actually was a prick, but he did marry some like 12 or 13-year-old girl,
Oh.
and that's
But-
why he ended up. That's why he ended up. I want to say never coming back from Europe at some point. I don't remember where exactly it was that they moved, but they were married until he died and had a lot of children.
Wow.
Well, she was very fertile
Well, he raised her.
at 12.
He
Right.
taught. You know what?
Yeah.
You're gonna be my wife, and this is how it goes.
You're going to give me lots of children. I'm going to take you away
Oh
now.
my God, that's so bad.
That's disgusting.
I know Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter was in Game of Thrones, so yeah,
Oh,
Granddaughter or great-granddaughter?
granddaughter. That was shit. I can't remember. She dies.
They all die.
They all die.
They all die.
Oh, didn't everybody die in Game of Thrones? Everybody died. Okay, so back to the mustache. We got off center.
Yep.
Ever since Todd said, what did you say about the mustache, Todd?
The mustache. I mean, when I saw the multiple pictures of this guy, in several of them, he had this Hitler-styled mustache.
He did.
And Regina says that he may have modeled it, the original Nazi mustache, Hitler, modeled his mustache after Charlie Chaplin because he wanted to be loved and adored like Charlie Chaplin was. So, okay, valid. However, it was definitely adopted in the later generations as a sign of evilness.
Right, because they didn't relate it to Charlie Chaplin.
Like, whenever anybody sees a little tiny mustache, everybody thinks evil. Whether you think, cuckoo, crazy, purist, nationalist kind of Nazi person, or a pedophile. I mean, there's no good outcome with a tiny mustache.
Yeah, nothing says love more than murder.
I would never date a man that had
Oh,
a tea napkin under his nose.
jeez, oh Pete. So when I was in the Marine Corps, they had strict regulations on mustaches. You could have one, but it had to be a 1/4 inch from the edge of your lip in. Well, I don't have a wide mouth. So when I tried to do the mustache, it looked like a Hitler mustache. I was like, I'm not doing the mustache. I'm not going to do it.
Really? So it had to be a 1/4 inch into your mouth.
Yes.
So it couldn't be to the edge of your mouth.
Could not be to the edge of my lip. Nope.
So that was the Hitler mustache then.
And on my face, it looked like a Hitler mustache. And I was like, nope, I can't do it. I cannot.
Okay, well, Todd, you may have stumbled on something. What do we know about this guy's military background? Didn't you say in his old country he was in the military?
Well, I don't know what the regulations are in his
Well,
old
But
country.
he was Israeli, so isn't that a requirement for citizens in that country to serve in the military?
So, okay. So, wait. Look at us, Trace. We're even helping this guy. We got to the bottom of his problem. He got a traumatic brain injury while he was serving in the military.
Oh my God, we fixed it.
We
I knew we
fixed
could
it.
do
Look
it.
at that. Round robin.
It took a minute, but gosh darn it, we did it. Now we have to make a report and file it.
Now we know how to treat this problem.
Listen, you're never getting out, but what I'm going to tell you is this. We're going to backtrack it.
Listen, you're fucked.
Yeah, we're gonna help you
You are
deal with
totally
this
fucked,
process.
but we did figure it out.
At least we know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Okay, but
We've determined the cause of your psychopathy, and we've got you fixed. I mean, you're never going to get out to put any of this information to use, but, feel better knowing that we know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah, we now know. Oh, thank God, because I was worried we weren't going to get there, but we did it.
Okay, but listen, can we just take a little trip back to when you said in Michigan, if it's first-degree murder, you never get out?
Right.
Okay, so in my mind, with all of my other things, right? So our penal system has issues, right? And one of them is that there's never enough money, supposedly, right? So why do they not adopt some of Texas's feelings about things? If we're never going to let them out, and we're never going to rehabilitate them, and we've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, literally and figuratively, which is not always the case for people on death row, which is why that's a problem. However, if we've already done all of that, and there's nobody going to bat for them, why do we keep them endlessly?
Which we all pay for.
Exactly.
If you were to come to Michigan and drive on our roads, you'll see where our money's going.
It ain't going to the roads. Okay? You could lose your car in there.
Yeah, well, that's also because in Michigan, you guys all drive 110 miles an hour on icy roads.
No, we
No,
don't.
that's Texas. No ice. Regina can attest to that. They're freaking maniacs on the road.
No, I know. Driving in Texas,
yeah.
I this day still complain about that. Driving around in Texas is bananas. 1 minute you're speeding 80 miles an hour. The next minute everybody slams on their brakes and you crawl for 2 miles. And then you speed 90 miles an hour. Nary an accident anywhere.
Correct.
I
You
don't
get
know
to
why
the
we don't
beginning
stop.
of where all of the traffic CF started, and you cannot. There's nothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's some kind of. It's like a flash mob, where instead of showing up at the mall and breaking into dance, somebody just randomly slams the brakes.
Yeah.
Not really sure.
It's crazy.
It's horrible driving here.
And on all the major highways, that's the game you have to play. 80 miles an hour to a full stop, to a crawl for a mile and a half where you see nothing. No reasons for why we're crawling are evident at all. And then we all just speed back up to 80 miles an hour again. And we rinse and repeat the
Right.
whole time you're on any of those parkways. And I have never, ever been able to crack the mystery. So it's crazy that you live in Texas and you don't even know.
No, and you must have been here when the speed limit was 55, because 80 will get you run over right now.
That's crazy.
I'm serious. People run up on the back of me like I'm standing still every morning, and I'm driving a minimum of 85 miles an hour.
Yeah, Texans are crazy with their driving. But so are Michiganders. You guys are acting like you're saints right now.
We are saints. Come on now.
Girl,
Yeah,
wait,
most
hold
cities,
up.
They drive slow.
Hold
Is that even
up.
right to you?
Hold up. I've been in the car when you're driving, sister.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too.
All I'm going to say is you are one fast girl.
Thank goodness for the shit bars in your Jeep.
Hey, listen, because I drive in places like Texas and Michigan. I gotta drive like that.
Okay.
Just get in, sit down, hang on,
Shut
and
up.
shut up. All you gotta do.
But that was a good. I'm gonna circle back. I'm gonna round robin back to Christine's point. Yeah, we should institute something, because why are we paying for these guys like this Elias Albuelazam forever until he dies?
Yeah, Like, I don't understand why that law, if they made that law that once it's first degree and we prove you beyond a shadow of a doubt that you've done it, why? Why not take a page from Texas's thing and euthanize them? I mean, it is euthanasia.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm all for it, but in cases like this, I mean, I don't understand. And when people go and argue about, you know, the sanctity of life and all of that, I can't help but to jump back into the hippie version of myself and be like, what about all these poor homeless people that we have walking around and their sanctity of life?
Right.
How about I take from his lifespan, which will probably probably $1 million for the rest of his lifespan to house and feed him. I'll take that $1 million and I'll go buy some land and build a bunch of tiny homes for probably about 500 of the homeless people we have.
Well,
so I'm going to save 500 lives if we just get rid of his.
One for 500.
Being a socialist again.
Well,
so.
most of the prisons in America are now privatized. So it's a business. They're not going to kill them because the longer that they live, the more money they get from the state and the government.
Oh
yeah,
my God,
I'm aware of that.
True?
I'm not saying that my plan is easy to implement at all and that it's even plausible in the big grand scheme of things, but the ideology of it is my point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
We really, like, these are all just super valid points to reevaluate the whole system. And now I just sound like a total wackadoo, so here we are.
No, you don't, actually.
Well, let's go one step further. Let's go to the Thunderdome.
You know what? Mad Max is coming out. He's all ampy.
Let's go 2 men enter, 1 man leave.
You know what? That's
Bust
a
the
great
deal,
idea.
face the wheel.
That's what the Romans did.
That was a real popular thing before the Roman Empire collapsed. So maybe we don't tempt history.
But maybe we just tweak it a little bit so it does work.
I'm back evil with more evil. Yeah.
And I have to, speaking of history, correct myself. I did slightly slander Charlie Chaplin. His wife wasn't 13. One of them was 16, and then the next one was 18.
Well, there you go.
So,
he hit another.
Okay. And how old was he?
When he married the 16-year-old, he was 36.
Okay, you didn't say. Don't worry about it.
He married
That is still bad.
18-year-old 3 years after
you're
that.
good, Regina.
There is a certain point where age doesn't matter.
What?
That's
But
not it.
when you're 16 versus a 36-year-old, it kind of matters.
Kind of matters.
Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, because last time we were talking about a teenager not being fully, developed mentally as part of children being sentenced as adults and getting life in prison and all that, but somehow it's okay to marry them.
Exactly.
Because
that was a different time. I'm glad
it's a man-driven world,
Wow.
so.
Because it's a man's world.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Wait a second. Listen,
Listen, you're the only
I'm
man
the
here.
only man on this panel. All of you are women. You're all strong. This is not man-driven.
And we're still singing that same song. It's a man's world. It won't be for long, though, baby. Don't worry.
Not for long. We're working on that.
Okay. Oh, is it? Okay.
Say what?
So I've been seeing the whole episode about how do I incorporate pegging. And it's a difficult one, but I'm thinking maybe in his prison byline he puts, I don't peg, I stab.
And you know what, guys? I think that is the perfect note to end this episode. I don't peg, I stab. Nina,
This was a wild
good job.
one, guys. We went all over the place on this one.
All right, so let's wrap it up. So thank you, Nina, Christine, Regina, and Todd. It was a great episode, and we did figure him out.
We figured him out.
We sure did.
We did, and we're gonna do it again next week. And you know what? We're gonna end this with save the penumbra. All right, everybody, have a great week. We will see you again on next Malice Monday. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
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 Goodbye, everybody.